Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I'm the founder of Salesology and the Salesology prospecting method. I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, our very special guest is Marc Del Priore. He is the CEO of Trademark Global. And very brief introduction here, because Marc, in 2022, just last year, Marc led his company to win number 865 on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in America list. What more do you need to say? So welcome, Marc.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So let's begin with, what does your company do?
Trademark Global has been around for almost a decade, and we provide lead generation services on a pay-per-lead or pay-per-call model.
Okay. And how did you get into this? What's the backstory that led to you being the CEO of Trademark Global, and then, of course, becoming number 865 on the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies list?
Sure. So Trademark Global started as almost like a bootstrap side hustle that I used to do on the side as I was working in corporate and some other jobs. And, I was doing it for extra money to be able to pay the bills, feed the family, and it quickly started to grow into something more than a side hustle. I started to make more money doing trademark than I did at my current W-2 position. So I started to realize that I had to make a decision. And then, that's a real high level story. We can go into more depth, but that's kind of how it started. It's a true entrepreneur story where you try to do something to make more money. You end up falling in love with it, and it ends up paying the bills, and it ends up becoming something a lot bigger than you anticipated. So,
well, that is a very, very cool story. And so you focus on B2B, increasing B2B sales leads in a very particular market, correct? Insurance and financial services?
We actually work in insurance and financial services are some of our top niches, but we also work in home services like windows for homes, roofing, solar, siding. We've been growing over the course of the last 12 months to offer more to our clients throughout the country. And it's been going very well. We also work in legal as well for attorneys and providing leads for them. So,
okay, well, no wonder you are so high on the fastest growing companies list. So let's get a little bit in depth. And if you're a business owner, we have a lot of business owners in our audience looking to increase leads, what should they be doing? Other than going to Trademark Global, which of course would be step number one. But if they're not going to do that,
right,
what should they be doing?
So there's always a number of things you should be doing. One thing I could say is you should test and pilot all different sorts of strategies and see which works best for your niche and your services and what you're the most comfortable with. So some companies will have 2 or 3 strategies that do very well for them, but they may have tested 5 or 6. Other companies may have just 1 or 2 strategies that work well, and they just stick with that. But ultimately, it really depends on if you're more of a local, regional company that's more of like a storefront, then you'll want to focus on local strategies. If you're more of a national type of outreach where you can reach companies and throughout the country, then you'll want to focus more on national type of stuff. But ultimately, you do want to have the staple stuff like social media, creating videos on social is huge. We hear about that all the time. For the national outreach, if you have a national outreach, you want to focus on the biggest brands and the biggest clients that you could possibly get if you're able to target nationally. And the reason is because most of us have like 8 to 10 hours in a day that we usually work, some of us longer if we need to. And if you're doing that and you're spending all that time, why not focus on the biggest ways to make money where you can get the best rate of return? Versus if you're working that same amount of time, why focus on the smaller stuff if it's going to create smaller returns?
Well, that's interesting to me. I think you're talking about targeting. I read an article on your website about the importance of targeting, and I know in the work that we do with clients, that's where we always start. But it's always very interesting because most people have a really hard time with this. So could you speak a little bit to how to target? Like, how do you know?
Absolutely. So you have to it's basically you go back to the drawing board, right? You take out a pen and paper, or you take out your notepad on your laptop or your MacBook, and you say, okay, what kind of service am I offering? That most people already know exactly how they're offering, what they're offering, whether it's a product or service. And then you start figuring out who is my ideal client for this product or service. If you're selling products that have to deal with, let's just say, we'll keep it simple for now, just say hair bows. Well, then you know that you need to target mothers who have baby girls, right? So they could buy hair bows for their baby girls, right? So now all of a sudden you've immediately targeted down to a niche, which in a target market, which is just mothers with babies. And now it's a matter of, okay, now that I know that's who I have to sell to, where are they hanging out online, right? How can I get my information in front of them? Well, there's Facebook groups, there's mommy baby groups all over Facebook and stuff like that. So you can join those mommy baby groups and maybe not spam the groups, but just post a couple things about what you're offering. Don't say buy it now, but just kind of put it out there with pictures and images. And people will automatically start liking and commenting, say, this is so cute, I would love this. And then if they request more information, then that's when you would drop your website and more information. But basically starting off with what you're offering, and then from there, kind of reverse engineering and saying, okay, well, who would like this product? And then where are they hanging out? And how can I get, and then it's what type of message do I send to them? Is it a video message of the product being used? And then you go from there. So.
And does it work the same way? Because you were essentially describing a B2C scenario.
Yeah.
Mothers who want to buy pretty bows for their little girls.
Yeah. So B2B is the same.
B2B.
Yeah, B2B, I started with the B2C because it's a little bit easier to explain. The B2B is a little bit more complex because it really gets niche targeted. If you're offering like software as a service, SaaS services, then you have to know, okay, what kind of software are you offering? Is it a CRM? So it gets very technical. I don't want to confuse any listeners, but yeah, B2B is the same exact thing. You figure out what you're offering, what type of person in the company that you need to be targeting. Is it the HR professional? Is it the marketing professional? Is it the CEO? Is it the assistant to the CEO? Because maybe the CEO isn't online as much. He or she's too busy with working and they can't check messages or social media feeds, but maybe the assistants can check that. So you reach out to the assistants and get in front of them, like on the assistant's post online, comment on their post, just general stuff, getting in front of them, letting them see your profile, some basic stuff on social media that can go a long way if they keep seeing you. It's kind of like how McDonald's keeps branding us on TV with just the golden arches, and then they're famous ba-da-ba-ba-ba. So like little things like that just stick in your head. The more you're in front of people just with a simple slogan or a simple image that keeps reminding them of who you are, the more they see you, the more they may think, hey, I have to reach out. That's something that I've been seeing a lot, and now I have to actually take action and reach out.
So do you start in B2B, do you start with objective criteria? Well, one of the things that we see with our clients, we always start with targeting. And we want our clients to give us very specific objective criteria, a description of that ideal prospect. And it's always very interesting. For example, you mentioned that you work a lot in the insurance space. We do as well. And the answer we'll get when we ask the question, describe an ideal prospect in the B2B space is any company that has 10 to 10,000 employees.
Yeah.
And then I have to say, well, let's just narrow that down a little bit.
Right. So it turns into what I like to call open-ended questions, right? So you have to dig deeper with the right questions to get them talk a little bit more. And then the more you learn about what they're actually offering, what type of service, and you kind of can start to gather, more of an ideal prospect based on their answers. That's what we typically do. That's what I typically do is sometimes they don't know. So like you said, they'll say 10 to 10,000. And then immediately it has to be followed up with, well, let's get more specific, like you said. And then instead of them getting confused, you start asking them open-ended questions that gives you more details about, what type of product they're offering or what type of service, and figuring out, maybe asking them questions like, who are some of the clients you recently closed? And if you're seeing a trend that the past 10 sales they had was somebody who's 25 to 50 years old, then you're not going to be marketing there towards the older generation. You're going to be targeting people who are more middle-aged, right? So you can kind of see based on their current sales that they've received over the past 30 to 60 days, where they're kind of trending towards and who's more interested in their services than others. And then you can reverse engineer it that way.
So I'm curious, I'm going to kind of switch gears here for a minute because I'm curious about something that you said earlier, which is looking at the strategies and testing out different strategies to see what works best for you, for your company. And I'm curious if you have seen or what changes you have seen pre-COVID, during COVID, supposedly we are now post-COVID, because I know, I hear a lot that, well, we used to do this and it doesn't work anymore. So I'm wondering if you're seeing the same kind of thing in lead generation.
So pre-COVID, the algorithms weren't as aggressive and there weren't as many people on, believe it or not, social media pre-COVID. If you'd like to believe that or not, I believe that's what's going on, because pre-COVID, it was kind of like, okay, we could do direct mail, we could do door to door, whatever people are offering. But what ends up happening when COVID hit was everybody was confined to their four corners, in their house, in their room, and in their office and their home. So what ended up happening is everybody started flooding online for that year and a half. And when I say everybody, I mean millions of companies started advertising online because they started to realize I can't go door to door. I can't direct mail. People probably won't even want to open it because of who knows, they think they're going to get COVID from mail pieces. So everything shut down. And unfortunately, but unfortunately, so many people flooded digital marketing. Our business thrived. That's how we ended up thriving so much and getting 865, right, on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies, because everything turned into a digital world for that year and a half. So what happened pre-COVID was there was not too many people doing it or believing in it. And then after COVID, right, or whatever, during the COVID, everyone started figuring out, oh man, this is the only thing I could do right now, so I might as well do it. So there's so many people trying to get in front of your target market now, it became very competitive.
So do you see that starting to shift back? Like what is your prediction?
So the people who it's not going to shift back, I don't think ever. It's only going to get worse, because a lot of people who ended up doing that saw a lot of success. And when you see a lot of success, you're going to continue to do that. So not that it's going to get worse in the fact that it's going to be harder, but you just have to come up with the right content, and you have to be very creative with your targeting once you're creating your content and how you're putting it in front of the right people with the right message and with the right image or the right video. So marketing always is a matter of targeting the right people with the right content in your ad and the right image or video to put it all together. When you have those three things, you're going to do a lot better than other people. And the last part of marketing, which a lot of people forget, but they're starting to realize now, is tracking all the analytics and the data. Because if you don't have an idea of what happened when you did all that, you have no idea of what was hitting well and what wasn't providing any value. And you have no leg to stand on once you're done with those campaigns, where to go next. You need to know where to go next. So
That's very interesting to me that you would say that. I'm sure that you track all of that for your clients. I'm wondering if you have an idea what percentage of marketers out there are tracking what they're doing.
So I know a lot of marketers that are truly marketers that are buying the ads, in our space at least, on YouTube, and they're buying the ads on Facebook. They have pixels on their websites, and they have all this different analytics to be able to track who clicked where, and then they can retarget them if somebody clicked but didn't actually create a lead. So they have all these different tools set up to maximize their budgets and to make sure that they don't, have anything fall through the cracks. So yes, the best of the best are definitely doing that, and that's why they're gaining more exposure and doing a lot better than some others. So
yeah, I was speaking with someone the other day who just kept saying, hire an expert. You wouldn't want to hire a doctor for your kidney transplant who's never done it before. You'd probably want to try and get the very best doctor that you could get. And the same thing for your marketing. It's very complicated.
It is.
Maybe you can figure it out on your own, but it's probably, if you're going to figure it out on your own, find somebody that's really good at it to teach you.
Yeah, and what I've also learned is, to that point, sometimes it's people don't have all the money in the beginning. If you're just starting a company within the past 6 months or 3 months or even a year, you're just starting to build momentum and get some extra money in. So you've been doing a lot of that work yourself, which is what I did, bootstrapping my company for years before I got it to a place where I can hire people. And you have to be almost diligent on your research. And you have to realize that, if you have a lot of time, right, but you don't have a lot of money, then you're supposed to spend that time to learn and grow your company. Eventually, if you do it right and you learn properly, you're dedicated and you're watching the right videos online and you're learning enough, you learn enough to make enough money. So now you have enough money, but now you're so busy, you don't have enough time. And that's when you take your money and invest it into an expert. So there's a whole process around that I learned just from doing it step by step, which a lot of entrepreneurs do. And that's basically what it is. First, you start off with a lot of time if it's a new company with no money. And then eventually, if you do it right and you learn right, you have enough money, but now you don't have enough time because you have to be customer service and you still have to, so you hire someone to do it. And you can either hire an expert, right, who is like, they're going to cost a lot, but they will do it right from the beginning. Or you can hire someone who's intermediary and train them on everything you did. And then you can, if you have a little bit of money, train them on what you did, just enough to be able to afford them, but they can take over the role that you were doing.
Absolutely. So we're going to pause now for a word from our sponsor. But when we come back, Marc, I want to ask you some more questions about do's and don'ts for lead generation, the difference between if you're doing, if you're a small business doing lead generation versus an enterprise level company doing lead generation.
Yeah.
But we're going to pause now for a word from our sponsor, Salesology, 81 tools to grow your sales and your business faster, more easily, and more profitably. Are you stuck because you just can't find the right sales and marketing resources to help you grow your business? Or maybe you're sick of spending hours hunched over your computer researching and looking for what you need instead of selling and generating revenue. Or maybe you're frustrated and confused because you just can't find what you need at an affordable price. Well, never fear, because Salesology, we have you covered. We've done the research, we've vetted all the sales and marketing tools, so you can save hours of work because you no longer have to hunt for what you need. Download 81 tools to grow your sales and your business faster, more easily, more profitably. It's free. Just click on the link in the show notes and you will be glad that you did. And we are back with our special guest, Marc Del Priore. He is the CEO of Trademark Global. And I'd like to talk a little bit about do's and don'ts when it comes to lead generation. Like, what should companies be looking at? What should they be doing? And what should they never, ever be doing? Because it's a really bad idea.
Yeah, so I'll do a real quick high level and then I'll go into detail. So what you should be doing is placing your content in the right places, but bringing value before just trying to just sell it. So in other words, that's number one. Number two is what you should not be doing is spamming people and just putting your information out there saying, we're the best at this, call us today because we offer this, and not that. So number one is bringing value, educating your consumer, your client on what they can get out of working with you. That's the kind of content you want to be putting out. What you don't want to put out, again, is something that's just saying, we do this, we do this, we do this. We're the best at it, call us today. Because technically, it's not going to get you anywhere. So
somebody should tell everybody on LinkedIn about that.
Yeah.
So you're saying put out the content that has value. You're educating your potential clients. So you put out this content. Let's assume it has value. Then what?
So you put out the content that has value, and what you want to do is be consistent with it, number one. So you want to pick a topic throughout the week that you may want to harp on that for the entire week. So it's kind of easy for you to come up with content. But then you want to go back to those posts that you're posting, let's say on social media, and seeing if people are liking it, seeing if people are commenting on it, seeing what kind of traction they're getting, and if you have certain links in the post, you want to keep them trackable so you can keep track of how many people are clicking on the link and maybe follow like that. But by doing that, you're engaging with your audience and you're also staying in front of them, more often. So if you do find a potential lead, somebody who says, please contact me for more, you can contact them immediately rather than just putting content out and then getting back to them a week or two later.
Well, I think you said a couple of really important things there, because first of all, you're not just putting out content like, here's all this great information. There's some sort of action item, even if it's not click here and give us your credit card. There's something, a link that goes somewhere else that is included in that post.
Yeah. And sometimes it could just be click on the link, and then as soon as they do, they could either download something like you were mentioning, like your 81 tools, or it could be just place your email here to get a newsletter coming through, right? And whatever you want to offer them. So if you like our post, enter they click on the link, they enter the email, and then they can get more of those posts delivered to their email instead of having to log into social media to try to find it.
So you're trying to do a lead capture. You're trying to capture the email addresses, but not directly in social media. It goes from the content on social media to someplace on your website.
You can go to your website where you explain a little bit more about the value you can bring them and some of the things that they'll receive in your email newsletter. And then if they wanted to, they could put their email in. So,
And then the other thing that you said that I really liked is don't just follow up with them weeks later. If somebody reaches out and says, I want to talk to you, in my experience, that generally means I want to talk to you. So you should respond.
Yeah, it's similar to sometimes if you call, like, for example, if you, like my wife and I may want to get some work done around the house. So we'll always get 3 quotes from a contractors. We'll call 3 of them, but only one of them will call us back. So the only thing that I can think of, since I know marketing and I know contracting, because that was my first line of work back when I was, 10, 20 years ago, was, some contractors are just too busy. So they just can't call you back. So I realized that it may not be that they're not a good contractor. They may have good reviews, but they may just be so busy that they don't need the extra work. So you have to realize, but they're missing that opportunity. What if they were to get that call, had somebody else, not maybe the owner, but somebody else in the office call them back and say, hey, we're very booked up right now, but we can refer you to this company. It kind of makes them look like they're still, crossing their T's and dotting their I's. Because what about in the future, right? If they get so many calls like that, they eventually can get bad reviews, and that could bring down, then eventually in the future, they may not get any more work because nobody's picking up the phone. And so it kind of snowballs into something later if you're not taking care of stuff today.
Absolutely. I am often shocked at the response time that I see from potential vendors when we reach out and say, we're interested in finding out about what you do.
Right.
And they don't respond. And maybe you're right. Maybe they're just really busy. That's a nice problem to have. But maybe they're just sloppy.
Yeah. And it doesn't say much about your reputation. So you have to kind of be careful with that, because eventually you could be missing potential work that maybe if you can't do it this month, you could do it next month, but you may even lose that because now you didn't even pick up. So responding back quick enough is very important when people are interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've given us some do's. Let's go into more detail with the don'ts. Like, don't spam people, but I don't know, is spam something like I can't define it, but I know it when I see it? Is that what spam is?
Well, to me, spam is just messaging that is very, just sell, right? It's like to a point where it's uncomfortable. It makes you, even reading it, you're like, wow, this is so much like aggressive. And people, especially nowadays with all marketing, and we have our cell phones, and people are always advertising to us from email, cell phone, social media. It's too much. So when you're spamming, and when I say spam, I mean putting out messages that are very heavily focused on, we're the best at this, and we do this, and you got to call us today, and we're going to, we're number one, and whatever the case is. It's a little standoff that you get turned off by it, right? It's almost like when you're in a relationship with somebody and you're dating them, but they have a big ego, and they're like very loud, and it's like, it's turn off a little bit. It's like, okay, just stay very calm and relax. And that's what spam is. It's like a little too much, too soon when you're trying to bring on a new prospect or a new customer.
And so if you are doing essentially one theme a week, and you're posting content, and it's different for different platforms, right? So you're not going to post as much perhaps on one platform as you would on another. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yep. To a certain degree. I mean, if you can't come up with that much content, then I would think in the beginning, just get the content out. If you feel like it's good, because there's only so much you can get out and do if you have other parts of the day that you have to get accomplished. But if you had, in a perfect world, you'd want to have different content for different platforms, like for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And is this advice, these do's and don'ts that we've been talking about, is it different depending on the size of the company, like a small business versus an enterprise level business, or are the rules pretty much the same?
The rules are the same. If you've noticed nowadays, like the commercials that are coming out on TV, I'll be sitting on the couch with my wife, and, we're got the kids in bed and we're watching TV commercial, and maybe it's Coca-Cola, and she just gets very emotional. She's like, wow, that was such a beautiful commercial. It said nothing about Coca-Cola. It said nothing about drinking the soda, how good it tastes. It was just a grandfather going to meet his grandson, and maybe he fell down and got hurt, and he needed to scrape his knee, and it's the emotion that pulls you in. And then at the very end, they show the Coca-Cola logo, and then the commercial goes away. That's never going to go away. And the best companies in the world do that the best, right? And that's why they hire brilliant minds, because it's about the emotion. Whether you're a big company like Coke or you're a small business, can you bring those people to tears? Can you bring them a smile on their face? That's what really resonates, and that's what makes them click on your website to see what else you could do for them.
So can you give us some examples, some success stories, before and after kind of examples of maybe some clients you've worked with, and what their business looked like before they came to Trademark Global, and what it looks like today?
Yeah, so we have two sides of our business. We have clients that can grow and get more successful and close more sales. And then we also have the affiliates who need to find more clients and grow their business. So I could talk more so along the lines of the affiliates who go and buy the Facebook ads and they buy the social media ads to generate those B2C leads or B2B leads to the clients. They're the ones who are helping grow their business because they just need to find more clients to buy their leads. And we're kind of the network in the middle. So it's the affiliates here that send the leads to us, the network, and then we take the leads and send them out to our clients. So we're helping those affiliates get access to more clients and grow their client base, if that makes sense.
So an affiliate joins you. Can you give me an example of a before they joined and they were at 0 and now they're at?
Yeah, so I have affiliates who joined us who are generating, let's just say health insurance calls. And maybe at the beginning, they were only selling, and generating like 25 calls a day. And they said, hey, we can generate more, but we just don't have anybody who can buy like 100 or 200 or 500 a day. Do you? And we would say, yeah, we do, but we have to make sure the quality is consistent and they like them and they're hitting their KPIs. But send us 25 a day for a week. And if they say they love them, they're going to tell us to send more. So we would take some of these call centers from 25 a day, and then the next week and the next week, maybe go to 75 a day, 100 a day, 200 a day, and to the most they can do. And then they're so grateful and they say, hey, is this something that's going to happen all year? Or is this just something that's going to happen for a couple months? And this is a great relationship. And I love seeing other companies grow and they help us grow too. So
that's a great story. So, Marc, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah,
our listeners want to get in touch. Where do they go?
So if you see my name on the screen, you can literally just Google my name and I'll come up everywhere on Google. But my LinkedIn profile, you could definitely go to LinkedIn and search my name. You'll see me on there. We have a website, which is www.tmgbl.com, which I'm sure will be listed as well. And at the very least, we just have consultations with clients. And sometimes we're not the best fit for everybody. And sometimes, they say, we just let them know that if we don't have solutions that can help you, we'll be very honest and upfront, and we'll even try to guide you in the right direction of where we feel like you should be heading to find what you're looking for.
Okay, and we will post all of those links in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, then if you want to reach out to Marc, just go to the show notes and click on one of those links and he will be there. So you have been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales, with our special guest, Marc Del Priore, who is the CEO of Trademark Global. And if you have found value in today's episode, think of one business owner or one sales professional or one entrepreneur that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast and share the link with them. Until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.